Great. So I'm Christina, and I'll quickly introduce this session before turning it over to our presenters. I was going to try the laborious task of introducing all of the things Brian Castle has done, but since that's impossible, I'm putting his LinkedIn profile here so that you can peruse it on your own in your own amazing see his amazing work. But in sum, he's a stream ecologist and hydrologist, also an expedition leader. And he's currently a PhD student at the University of California in Berkeley on a National Science Foundation graduate research fellowship. His research informs the protection of endangered coho salmon. He uses microchips, which are implanted into juvenile salmon to track their journey to the Pacific Ocean. And by sharing his findings with a local conservation group, he develops solutions that increase salmon population resilience. Brian really represents, I think, what we hope at East West Center, that our research is purposeful, and he very well represents that. Previously, he was at UC Santa Barbara. He's been a consultant in hydrology matters, particularly, or ecosystem services in a lot of places. For Conservation International in particular, in Barbados, in Fiji, in Germany, for the Asian Development Bank in Vietnam and Laos, for the Nature Conservancy in Pohnpei in Federated States of Micronesia, and also for the IUCN in Cambodia. But way down in his profile, you see we're proud that one of his first experiences was working with us with the Waisili, or in-room program now as it's called, as a program assistant, and is an East West Center alumni of the Asia Pacific Leadership Program. So glad a lot of his cohort mates are on this call. Brian, I'll turn it over to you, and thanks for sharing your knowledge about something that's jump-started, been a part of your journey, and appreciate you sharing tips to us.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction. And just seeing all of you here reminds me how much I honestly love the East West Center. And it really warms my heart to see just what an interdisciplinary crowd we have. Because ultimately, it really is that interdisciplinary approach that is required to develop solutions to the environmental challenges that face our planet today. Both working in teams, but also working as individuals, and perhaps being interested in some of the grant opportunities that we'll touch on today. So I might share my screen now. And hopefully you can see this now. Let me know if you can't. But I'll focus on some of these techniques that are needed to develop these solutions, while also explaining to you some stories of my National Geographic grants. And then we'll transition to a really exciting talk for the second half of the session by a great initiative called Bluepreneur. And now National Geographic and Bluepreneur are opportunities that you explore yourself, and we'll tell you about how to potentially get some of those grants to develop solutions to these environmental problems that we face. And so as a National Geographic explorer, I feel really lucky to be able to embrace science communication. And it's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently and would love to hear your perspectives. But to really use that as a tool to harness the interdisciplinary expertise that many have. And so firstly, I'd like to show this slide here and gather your perspective on, what do you think a National Geographic explorer does for the most part? Is it focused in the office in front of the data? Is it that middle photo in the field? People might assume that we explorers are out in the field the whole time, but really the reality of the situation is that, man, a lot of my time really goes into the left slide here, into this data crunching, really just stuck in the matrix for days at a time sometimes. And that's the science that I develop. So in this interdisciplinary world, I'll tell you what I'm doing as an explorer on the science of salmon conservation and feeding that into the tools that I use to communicate this to the public via the education experiences. Like Christina mentioned, I'm so grateful to have had through the East-West Center. And, you know, a lot of my time is also spent as an explorer, you know, working with communities, as in that upper right photo, and gathering local knowledge, getting the perspectives of a lot of different stakeholders, understanding how Indigenous knowledge plays a role in science. These are all key components of science communication. And in the lower left-hand photo there, you'll see some virtual work I was doing with a children's hospital, some long-term student patients there who were learning about my salmon conservation work. But I was also learning from them about how they see the natural world. And I challenged them to tell me their career goals and to see if we could put those into the realm of conservation. You know, some of them said, I want to be an artist. Can that fit into the realm of conservation? Absolutely. Art is an incredible way to communicate science, in fact. Another one said they wanted to become a financial investor. Well, natural capital is one investment that we should certainly make in our planet. Now, the little guy there in orange threw me a curveball and said he wanted to be a race car driver. And although I didn't have anything for him on, oops, I see that I lost video here. Let's see if I can get back. Okay, I'm back in video. And so I didn't initially have an answer for that little guy, but then I realized afterwards, well, if his passion is race car driving, I'm sure he could promote electric vehicles to promote the protection of our planet. And then finally, science communication is about connecting with a broad variety of audiences with different backgrounds, as I was doing in that bottom right photo at National Geographic headquarters. And so how do all of you fit into this? Well, I guarantee you, much as those students challenged me to think about their interests in conservation, there are so many different disciplines that are needed in order for science communication to be effective. I know we've got folks in the audience who are interested in policy and economics. If we take the current environmental crisis of COVID-19, which, remember, came from our mismanagement of wildlife, namely bats, we realize that in order to take the precautionary measures to protect ourselves from COVID-19, we need to think about the economics. How are local economies going to respond? How do we work with them in order to ensure that we can develop solutions that will still protect economies? Psychologists are absolutely critical in science communication as well. They can teach us about the most effective messaging strategies. You know, when do we begin the messaging about COVID-19 precautions that we can take? Of course, the scientific information, you know, how I'm crunching away at that data. And anthropology, sociology. I know seeing a response there already from Miranda, who works in two of these fields of psychology and specifically cultural psychology. Those topics surrounding culture are critical as well. How will different cultures, those that are collectivist versus individualistic, respond differently to the precautions for COVID-19 that are recommended to them? Finally, history. In the case of the coronavirus, the historical context of whether a pandemic has been experienced in a place certainly plays a role into a community's response. And now this is your opportunity to partake in a little experiment I have for you here. in which I will try to convince you that scientific information alone is inadequate in communicating science to the public, because we all have biases, whether we recognize them or not. So let's pretend there's a language called Takata Maluma, which are two of the keywords of this language. I want you all to tell me, I'll launch a poll here in a second, which of the two shapes is associated with the word Takate. Again, this language doesn't exist. And if you've seen this experiment, don't partake. But if it's otherwise for you, let me know if Takate is associated with that left kind of lobe-like shape, or the right shape there. And also for Maluma, the word Maluma, which shape is associated with Maluma? So I am now going to attempt to share a poll, and you can click your answer and we'll be able to share the live results. I see that you're viewing the questions now, and we'll see as the votes start to come in whether there's a majority here. So far, it's great. I'm seeing 12, 13, 14 responses. And so far, let's see, I probably shouldn't give you an additional bias here by telling you the results yet. See that 20 of 28 have responded, so we'll give you another 5 seconds to respond, and then I'll show you the results. All right, so hopefully you can see these results that among you all, which is a very intercultural population, your results are fitting for the rest of the world's results, as the study also took place among cultures around the world. And that is that the right figure, this more angular shape, is associated with the word Takate. And over countless populations, that's been the case, even though this language doesn't exist whatsoever. And really, that just goes to show that even if we provide scientific information, there are certain associations, certain biases that we all associate with that information as it's provided to us. Which means, again, that all of your various disciplines of expertise are absolutely critical in becoming part of this field of science communication. Because prior to the recent studies in science communication, there was this deficit model that individuals will simply make rational decisions consistent with the information they're given. That we have an empty brain and then we fill it and we can make the best environmental decisions. But as you can imagine, that's not the case. I'm going to focus a little bit of time here on showing you how emotions matter, and how, as National Geographic explorers or anyone in the field of scientific communication, you can harness that knowledge to amplify the messages that you want to send about scientific information. So these emotions play a role in how we interpret the information. And that determines the attitudes and consequently those behaviors that we have. Those behaviors could again be for the precautions we take against transmitting COVID-19. And in a study that assessed how emotions are associated with various degrees of interest in promoting climate policy, it was noted that worry, interest, and hope, those participants of the study that had higher degrees of worry, interest, and hope were more likely to be engaged in increasing science, specifically climate policy. And more than that, even specific words make a difference. There was another study that looked at Americans' perspectives on climate change. And they were given two different excerpts, fictional excerpts about climate change. And one used simply the term the war against climate change, and one the phrase race against climate change. And it was found that using the war metaphor increased one's perception of urgency and risk surrounding climate change. And as we're communicating science and developing these environmental solutions, it's important to also honestly be yourself, be human. Showing vulnerability has also been demonstrated to increase one's connection to the speaker on climate change and environmental topics. Being vulnerable, showing fear, even excitement, can really engage audiences. And now I have a photo here of Spock from Star Trek. And he's half Vulcan and half human, hence the reason I put him up there. But additionally, I joke with people by sharing a real piece of my history, which is that I'm a recovering volcanologist myself. Not the Vulcan with the pointy ears as Spock is, but I used to study active volcanoes. So that was a little piece of my own background to get personal there and potentially increase my effectiveness in communicating this kind of science. After all, this is the science of science communication. And now, oops. And now it's really also important to connect your audience to stories that are personal to you, not only about yourself, but the stories, the events that take place potentially around your home communities. And, you know, in the case of the California fires, that's something that's been really effective for local communities to express, you know, their emotions, their connections to these environmental, the devastation from these climate change related issues. And again, the closer these issues are to home, the more effective they will be. So now that we have some tools to think about how to engage with audiences, let's explore some opportunities that you can actually apply for to delve further into the field of science communication. So as I mentioned, I have a National Geographic grant, and I want to tell you about mine, but also some of the other opportunities through National Geographic that exist. So I believe Lance is going to be sharing this website, so you don't have to scribble it down now. But to note from this slide here that there are three specific types of grants that National Geographic funds. One is request for proposals. Those change over time, but you might keep an eye on those to see if any particular requests resonate with your own interests. For example, there is currently an RFP, a request for proposals, for a plastics-based project. There are also these exploration grants, which are broader in scope. They allow you to really customize your own project. And there are early career grants, which are for generally earlier stage individuals like myself. So I have an early career grant, and I'll give you some information on that now. They allow you to propose budgets of $5,000 to $10,000, and they're geared towards these individuals who have 5 or fewer years of experience in the specific discipline of your proposed project. So it doesn't matter that you've necessarily been a professional in your general field, even for some time longer than that. But if it's specific to your project and it's less than 5 years, you should be good to go. And this particular grant application is due on the 21st of October. And now for all of their grant types, you can pursue these from a variety of different disciplines. And that's really exciting, given the importance of this interdisciplinary approach that I mentioned. So these 5 areas include conservation, education, research, storytelling, and technology. And of course, you can intertwine a number of these different components into your work. You know, clearly my work is at the intersection of research, education, conservation, storytelling, technology, all of them. But my primary focus really is research. That's often fitting for folks who are at universities. And then I have a secondary focus that is conservation. And even more broadly than that, for the topics that you can propose projects for, there are 3 different types of lenses. One of those is the human journey. So I hope you're not dissuaded by my particular topic. If science or the natural sciences isn't your field, even completely social issues are really important to National Geographic. So the human journey focuses on learning more about who we are, what our future on this planet will be. Think of this as broadly as you can. And as I'm going through this, please feel free, and I'd encourage you to put in some pitches you might have in a couple of sentences into the chat, or specific questions you might have. And I would love to either entertain those ideas as a group or offline later. The second lens is the changing planet. So this delves a little bit more into the natural and physical sciences of our planet. And specifically, they are interested in still a variety of topics, from exploitation of natural resources, mismanagement, certainly climate change issues. These are all really compelling topics. Virtually anything in the field of the environment could fit into this topic. But if you focus on one particular species, like I do, I focus on the salmon, you might be inclined to apply for the wildlife lens. That one's a little more self-explanatory, but has incredibly important repercussions for Earth's biodiversity, the life history of these organisms, and how we can protect the habitats that are critical for their well-being, and honestly, our well-being as humans as well. So again, feel free to put any pitches you might have, and I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat here. And as you're brainstorming, I'm going to now tell you a little bit about my research, since I've been alluding to it this whole time, but not really giving you any specifics on it. So I received my early career grant about a year ago now, and I'm still actively working on this. And this is some information that I like to present to a variety of audiences, entitled "Deep Enough to Swim: The Endangered Coho Salmon's Downstream Journey." So as you look at a photo like this one here of salmon of incredible abundance, you might often think, okay, well, that's in places like Alaska or even Russia, but is it near my home? Well, in fact, I live in California, and it was thought that the indigenous had populations of salmon so abundant that they could walk across streams on the backs of salmon. But now, juvenile salmon, like the one you're seeing here, are on the brink of extinction. And so my work is to see if we can bring them off of the brink of extinction and back into the lives of Californians and the rest of the world. In California, the issues they're facing are increasingly shallow water depths. So as these cute little guys try to embark on their big migration from the streams they're born in out to the ocean, they face these really shallow streams that you're seeing on the right here. And we have the opportunity to work with landowners, to work with farmers to increase those water depths. Those are some of the solutions that we're pursuing. Please imagine trying to swim through a stream this shallow, especially as it goes dry. It'd be pretty tough, especially without legs, right? So what we do to figure out how their migration is being affected by the shallow depths, we have microchips the size of only a rice grain that are implanted into these salmon. And as they swim over antenna arrays, the unique identification and time of their migration is recorded. That identification, might be their name, Sally, Tim, Bob. No, we're not there yet. We unfortunately only have numbers for them, but maybe we'll get to the point of giving them names. And we use some cutting edge technology to develop an alert system using this solar panel here and a depth sensor. We're sending information live in time so that these salmon can be rescued from the streams before it's too late. Because these salmon, although my lens focus is on one particular species, the repercussions are huge for the entire web of food that these salmon bring together. So this is a photo of a river otter. And in fact, as I was taking some footage of some salmon in my streams one day, I heard some splashing coming down the streams. And I looked up thinking it would be a person, but in fact, it was one of these cute fellas, one of these river otters that just jumped right into the pool in front of me and just started eating my endangered coho salmon. So it was a big bummer for my endangered salmon, but he was so cute as he popped up with a mouthful of fish that I couldn't give him too much of a hard time, knowing that he's a critical part of that ecosystem as well. But it was quite a unique experience to get photobombed by a river otter. And so I hope you can think about how this is just a microcosm for a number of the different environmental issues that face freshwater ecosystems, not only in the US, as you see here, but around the world. This is an image that shows you just the high connectivity of these freshwater ecosystems, no matter where you are. Even if you don't realize it, I guarantee you, there's probably a stream like the one behind me here near your home. And so keeping in mind that wording is an important part of the messaging that helps us scientists to connect to the public, will you help me catalyze the coho comeback? I hope so. And I really hope that you'll be interested in some of the National Geographic grants or the Bluepreneur initiative that will be talked about next. So with that, I'm happy to start entertaining some questions. I will open up the chat here and see if there's anything. I'm seeing a lot of chatter, so if anybody wants to jump in as I'm trying to sift through this, feel free to ask a question now by audio. I'd love to hear any pitches anybody might have for National Geographic grants.
All right, I have a question, Brian. Thanks for the informative session, and it was really insightful. So can social enterprise like Bluepreneur with Science Solutions apply for the Net Geo grant? So how does it work? Yep, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are probably a number of ways that Bluepreneur could do that. I know I've learned a little bit through you about Bluepreneur, but the audience will get to next. I think through the different categories, one that comes to mind is storytelling. That, through the individuals, the stakeholders that you might work with on some of your water-based environmental issues, telling these stories is something that could be really compelling to National Geographic. And if those are all, for example, stories that affect the global environment, that might be the changing planet lens that might be most fitting.
So a quick question, have you in your explorations come across any interactions between salmon and bear?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Harshini. Yeah, so that's a great point to bring up. As I mentioned, the food web is something that's important. So in California, that's a component of the ecosystem that is largely now missing from the current habitat of the coho salmon that I study. But they may be one of the key components to connecting salmon not only to the freshwater ecosystems, but to the terrestrial ecosystems. And you're probably already familiar with this, but for any of us who aren't in the audience, the salmon carry these rich nutrients of nitrogen and phosphorus. And and as the bears, chomp down, as the river otter does, on these salmon, they then bring the salmon carcasses to the neighboring terrestrial environments, spread that nitrogen and phosphorus, and end up helping the rest of the ecosystems, including the trees, the redwoods, to thrive. But unfortunately, we don't have as many of those bears in the ecosystem. So maybe someone will pursue a project on bears in that wildlife lens and complete the picture. Just
to continue on that, quick question once again. The streams and rivers that you're looking at, do they originate within the United States itself or somewhere in Canada? Because I've heard that in Canada, there is a lot of interaction with the bear and salmon, and they could be easily seen during the season.
Yeah, that's a great point. So in my field area, the coho salmon don't cohabitate with bears. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right that the same species, the coho salmon, is much more abundant, far less endangered in parts of Canada. And there, the grizzly bears and black bears certainly do feed on the salmon and spread those nutrients. Great. Yeah, so I am happy to follow up with anyone else who might have questions. Let's see, maybe one last question here from Denise, who writes, may I ask what camera did you use to capture this last photo? So this was with an SLR, a Canon Rebel, a pretty basic level SLR. This photo was taken by a field assistant of mine who's a fantastic photographer, Sean Perez. And so that just goes to show that, again, working in teams is even a critical part of this work as well, because I'm not sure I would have been able to catch such an amazing photo as that. But as a lot of folks at National Geographic say, when people ask what the best camera is, it's whatever camera is in your hand when you get into that important moment. So I don't want to take away any more time from the next talk, so I'm happy to follow up with people offline. But with that, I'd like to transition over to Usha, who I believe is going to kick off some talks about her initiative called Bluepreneur.
Yes, hello everyone. So let me just share the screen. Yes. All right, so my colleague will actually walk through our program about what is Bluepreneur. Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Inta Ang and I'm from Myanmar. Okay, so let's start our Bluepreneur section. Hello, welcome from Bluepreneur program, and it is our honor to be here presenting our program, Gen Square, emerging with the awesome Net Geo grant session. And thank you, Brian, for really insightful presentation. Yeah. And before introducing our Bluepreneur program, I would like to ask the very quick 2 quizzes. Yeah. So here it comes. The first one is how many million tons of plastics are dumped in our oceans every year? And second one will be by what year do scientists predict plastic will outweigh fish in the ocean, pound for pound? Yeah, I would like all of you to type in your opinions and answers in the chat box. Obviously, these kind of quizzes are like somehow related with ocean and marine life problems. Yeah. Yep, I'm seeing the answers here. Yeah. Okay, 1 million pounds, 2050. Okay, so here it comes. Actually, 8 million tons of plastics are dumped in our oceans every year. And yeah, there are over 150 million tons of plastic in the oceans today, and that is about like 1 ton of plastics for every 3 tons of fish. Yeah. Now, before I move on to our Blueprint initiative, I would like to suggest, I would like to ask all of you to to put suggestions and opinions for us while we are presenting in the chat box. Okay, so now it is the time to officially introduce our Bluepreneur initiative. Yep, this Bluepreneur bootcamp is powered by U.S. Department of State, YCLE, and ISPA Center, and ASEAN-based startup organizations. We are the ISPA Center YCLE Environmental Fellows, and we are the ecosystem ambassadors who would like to build, innovate, advocate, and inspire our ocean environment. Yeah. The next slide will be presented by my colleague.
Yeah. So you may have seen that what is a Bluepreneur, right? So Bluepreneur actually comes from this 5 watchlist member, and Bluepreneur actually have to combine from the 2 separate words like blue and entrepreneur. And Bluepreneur really made strong connection between the ocean and stuff. And we want to dealing with the ocean water problem, especially in the Southeast Asia, with the business model. Next please. So Bluepreneur with a mission to want to improve the blue ocean problems, especially right now in the Southeast Asia. And we want to bring the early stage up to the right partners or the people who are in need. Yeah. Beside the mission, we really emphasize the vision. We want to strengthen the startup ecosystem, especially who are interested in blue ocean problems or something like water solutions. And the last but not least, I think that's really important to us. It want to raise the living standard of the cultures community, especially in the South Asia or the rural areas. In the next few weeks, we gonna launch the virtual bootcamp from July 31st to the August 2nd, 2020. And I really anticipate you guys enjoy the bootcamp. And in the near future, we would like to organize some the interesting programs, just as like the business awards or the business certification. Thank you. The stay will leave for Usha.
Right. So before we dive in further, let me talk to you about what are the problems that we are trying to address in Bluepreneur. So the main problems that we are trying to address here are ocean and water problems, focusing on water pollution, coral bleaching, ocean acidification and biodiversity loss. So before we go into let me ask you what the top 5 countries in the world's conservation role. Any suggestions and ideas? All right. So the answer is Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and China. So isn't it staggering? Because these top countries are Asia plastic, and these are the abundance of plastic pollution that we see on day-to-day basis in ocean. All right. So what is our first program that we will launch? We will launch a virtual program this July. So what is a virtual program? Everyone might have this idea of like what is the virtual program. But the virtual program is basically moving on model and validating and prototyping solutions hands-on. And not just that, we are accelerating an ideation phase startups to become a growth phase, which so our program structure is which is very concise. So a week before the event, we will be notifying the top 12 solutions, and we will have team breakouts and invitation for them to collaborate in our channels, and program details will be released. On day one, we will be working on design thinking workshop, and they will have exclusive consultations with experts in VC. And on day two, we will be teaching the participants about how to practice lean canvas model and teach that preparation to the judges and to the investors. And for the day three, which is the big day that we will all be awaiting, which is the virtual demo day, and also followed by a virtual networking session with partners, investors, and mentors. So, all right. What can we do about this? We know the problem, we know what to do, but what can we do about it really to solve this?
Sorry, Usha, I think your connection is not so good. We can't hear what you're saying. Do you want me to talk about it?
All right. Can you hear now?
Yep, now it's good.
Okay, so yeah, what can we do about this to solve this during the COVID-19 virtually? So if everyone would have seen
All right, now we're moving on to the target audience. So Bluepreneur, our virtual bootcamp, is strictly focused on blue startup ideas. And when we mean blue startup ideas, we are talking about idea stage startups in early development that focuses on conservation and protection of water resources. So some of the examples that we can share with you, I'm sure most of you have joined the previous session where they spoke about Takpi and Leaves Indonesia. If you haven't, I'm just going to briefly describe them. So Takpi focuses on giving women in coastal areas the opportunity to make to make some money out of recycled denim jeans. And Leaves Indonesia works with natural resources such as endemic plants to produce traditional and cultural handcrafts as well as eco printing. Next, please. Right, so expectations and outcomes of Bluepreneur. So this bootcamp, we are looking to come up with a multi-industrial mentorship for participants, which means that our participants who are looking to build up their startup ideas should receive mentorship that is holistic from many different viewpoints, from the NGO sector, from the industry sector, from corporates, and from entrepreneurs. Networking opportunities, peer engagement. So peer engagement comes in two forms. We look at investment. So investment in a sense that there is an opportunity for them to meet with investors, for venture capitalists, where they may be able to get a financial investment. And what that means is if they get a financial investment, they may not necessarily need to look for a loan for a bank to actually start up their program or their product. And the second part would be review. So we highly encourage platform-wide sharing. So their ideas, their solution, they get to share it with their peers who are throughout the globe also working on similar ideas. And maybe by doing this, they may be able to learn something from someone else. And when this happens, they can improve and scale up their product. At the end of the program, we are looking to have a demo day session. And in the demo day session, this is where participants will be able to showcase their upgraded product to all the partners, to all the investors, and hopefully build connections. So through this program, we are looking to build real life solutions, and this is through expert mentorship as well as business models that are known to succeed. Right, next please. Right, so we'll have another round of quiz. This is our last round of quiz, and just two really simple questions. So number one, what is the main cause for coral bleaching? Number two, how many % of the world's oxygen comes from the ocean? These questions are just some of the ideas that we can work around. So some of the options that that people may consider. Oh, I see correct answer already. Yep, correct. The first one is global warming. And two-thirds. Okay, yeah, Christina got the second answer correct. Usha, next. So yeah, so second, oh sorry, can you go back a bit? So the first one is increase in global temperature, and the second answer is over 70% is photosynthesized from the sea, which comes from mainly marine plants, right?
Okay, thanks for a clear explanation and information from my teammates. I'm sure all of you now know what Bluepreneur will be like. And so here I want to inform you how to be a part of us and how to be a part of Bluepreneur. Yeah. Here we provide the link here, and you all are welcome to register at this link, and our application deadline will be on 20th July 2020. Yeah. Mark, can you copy and paste the link here? Yep. And moreover, if you all want to check out our partners, our mentors, and our speakers who will be helping us on our program days, you all can check out here at our website, our Bluepreneur website. And or if you have any inquiries or questions to know more about our programs, you can reach out to us not only from our team email, but also from our individual email provided here. So thank you all for your kind attention, and mahalo. Any suggestions and ideas are warmly welcome. Yeah.
Okay, I see that the website link doesn't work. Hold on, let me
I've
send a new one.
Provided, the correct link, so yeah, we should be all good there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask?
Hi, I'm Teddy from Indonesia.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
How the event is going to be executed? Is it going to be online, or is it possible for the public to follow your activity?
The whole program will be run online. So you just need to register before the 20th of July, and then later on we will create an online platform link. So you just follow the link, and then all the content and materials will be available there.
So so there is a possibility that some people no need to have to attend the session, but they can observe something like that. Is it possible?
So sorry, could you repeat the question? It's sort of cut off.
Okay, sorry, maybe my connection. Is it possible just participate as an observation?
Could we get your contact, and then we'll get back to you on this, because yeah, we'll need to check back again before we make a final decision, because we are not sure if the platform can host extra people.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank
But
you.
I think if I could intervene and perhaps make a suggestion. Teddy is a recent fellow in the APLP, so that's our advanced program for the Bluepreneurs. He's been very active in the virtual work we've been doing, and he's comes with a strong business background. He's based in Jakarta, so he might be a good example of someone we could reach out to actually support some of the sessions or support the recruitment. So I think he's an ideal person to stay in touch with and to reach out to and to make a part of this program. So thanks for your question, Teddy.
Mark, Harshini here. My question is, can you go back to the expected outcomes of this whole initiative? I mean, I don't need to see the slide, but if you can just mention them.
Right. So sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. So the expectations are mentorship, networking opportunities, peer engagement, virtual demo days, and scaling up your startup.
Right. Thanks.
Harshini, we're also trying to accomplish something broader. The team's keeping it really practical here for us, but we're hoping to help people reestablish and rethink their relationship to oceans and to the waters, particularly in Southeast Asia. We as land-based Homo sapiens, we often think most about entrepreneurship happening on land, but yet as these oceans that connect us, these oceans that are central to the East-West Center's mission, and of course these oceans going forward are getting higher priority in our political realms, but we think entrepreneurship needs to perhaps play a role in addressing our offshore needs, if you will. So we're trying to accomplish something that's also a way of thinking, as well as practical steps forward, like MJ and Maggie showed in their session earlier in Gen Squared.
Sure, thanks.
Harshini, do you have anything, or have you heard of anything like this? I mean, you're extremely well versed in this, the environmental sector in Sri Lanka. Is there anything similar you've heard of, or you could share with us?
Yeah, not particularly directed in the marine realm or blue realm, but we have something called climate reality. So which is a network of climatepreneurs, if I may call it that. Yeah. So we try to, we as Biodiversity Sri Lanka, the organization I work for, try to engage with them on several, on different occasions. But we don't have a really strong link as such continuously with them,
okay,
although we would like to. And we're looking for ways.
You're really active in a similar sort of a way of connecting folks in an ecosystem of corporates as well as people in the environmental sectors. So what are the words of wisdom that you could offer? Are they natural collaborators, or is this something we have a challenge ahead of us on?
No, definitely the private sector is always keen on getting young entrepreneurs on board to, as long as their work serves the objectives of the corporate's missions as well. So when you do design your work, make sure to, if you have any target corporates in mind or would like to collaborate with, do look at their company objectives as well and see if you can align your work with theirs so that it becomes easier for them also to, give okays to the collaboration.
Thank you. That helps a lot.
MJ, are you still with us? Are you in there? Did you know you would be identified as a bluepreneur? And what do you think about that concept? We used you specifically as an example. We thought you represented this concept well as a marine biologist transitioning to an entrepreneur upcycling denim.
Yeah, hello everyone. I kind of didn't expect that in a way. I was like, it's the first time I hear bluepreneur, but I heard about blue economy. So it was the first time I was also Googling of what's bluepreneur. So it's a really good way of encouraging people like young entrepreneurs nowadays to be innovative and use something that reuses things that are already available and also empowering communities. So it's a really good, I'm looking forward to it.
Good, thank you.
Lance, are the bluepreneurs going to target a specific audience in terms of potential investment, or not yet, not thought of that yet?
No, we're really open to ideas. This is very, very early stage, Arsini. These are things that I have come up with over months of working with this team and us envisioning ways to use their skills while producing a concept that takes us into not just expecting the future, but inventing it. So we're really early stage here, really looking for partnerships. They've reached out to a lot of the conventional tech startup accelerators, but we really are looking forward to any suggestions or ideas that you or others may have.
Right, so corporates are definitely a potential target, but there are also impact investors who are constantly looking out for really good initiatives like this. So in Sri Lanka we have a few, but there may be lots more in the States and even Southeast Asia. So better to have a look out. Their sole intention is to find entrepreneurs and fund them.
Great. So any final words, please, from the bluepreneurs, and we'll go ahead and conclude. Anything you'd like to offer us, or any ideas of how to stay connected? Oh, I guess not then. So let me go ahead and conclude this session. Thank all of you very much for joining. If you don't mind, if you'd hang on for just a second, I am going to take a screenshot and record this historic moment where the next economic sector, the next big thing, was launched along with one of the next big things in Sri Lanka, being a very young bluepreneur, even perhaps the target audience. Thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate, Brian, you stepping in and your busy schedule, saving an endangered species and adding your expertise. Bluepreneur stepping in, again, sharing something that is very undetermined and unrefined, and trusting me on this one. So again, we do have an evaluation we would like you to fulfill, and stay in touch, please. And let's continue the conversation on Discord. If you're joining us for the last session of the day, look forward again, another robust conversation around environment and the relationship with humans. And we will see you there. Thanks again.
Sorry, Lance. My device lagged, so when you asked, then it didn't talk through. Thank you everyone for joining. We really appreciate your feedback. If you would like to continue the discussion further, or you want to send us more comments and suggestions, you are most welcome to contact us at this email. I'm putting it in the chat. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you on Discord.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That was great. Bye-bye.